Sega has always been a strange company, even on their best days. They split up Sonic 3 and Knuckles because of McDonald's promotion. They thought that releasing the Sega Saturn on the day of E3 1995 was a great idea, resulting in them losing vital trust from consumers and retail stores, and how they've rushed a multitude of projects. However, they have also been dumb geniuses, with the Sega Nomad being the equivalent to the Nintendo Switch or Steam Deck in the early 90s, adding online functionality to the Dreamcast right outside the box, and overall pushing the barrier of what video games could or should be. And now we have Sega's new focus: Super games. There's been a lot of talk and speculation on what exactly this is, so I wanted to sit down and discuss the timeline events that led us here, what Sega's official description is on it, and if it is actually worth your attention. Buckle up, it's time to take some notes. On May 2021, Sega Sammy released their financial report ending March 2021, which broke down several details on software sales, IP growth, and etc. However, the report also hinted towards the future of the company and where their large investments would go to, with a 5-year strategy called Creation of Super Game, which mentioned the goal to create titles that could be expanded globally. Sega remarks that while starting off with low profitability due to it being classed as a new IP, it would provide high growth potential due to it being so globally as opposed to their domestic mobile titles and pachinko machines. They also mentioned that while they work on their Super Game project, they focus on new titles throughout the 5 years, which we know of is a decent amount. It was also heavily hinted in the report that they would also push out more use out of their old IPs in remakes, reboots, and remasters. In the same report, they gave a general explanation of what they meant by IP use. They made a focus to split active and dormant IPs, with the IPs listed as dormant as Crazy Taxi, Shinobi, Jet Set Radio, Virtua Fighter, Space Channel 5, Altered Beast, Rez, House of the Dead, Panzer Dragoon, Streets of Rage, Knights, Soul Hackers, and etc. Out of the 12 IPs named, 7 of them have had titles in the past 5 years: Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown, Streets of Rage 4, Panzer Dragoon Remake, Soul Hackers 2, Space Channel 5 VR, and the House of the Dead remakes. 3 of those were made in close or internally within Sega, while the rest were licensed to other developers. For remasters, Sonic Colors Ultimate, Sonic Origins, and the Judgment games on PC were also released after the report, meaning that there is, to public knowledge, a push within the company to go back and bring older games to newer platforms, including a remastered Sonic Adventure port. In November 2021, Sega and Microsoft announced a joint partnership in use of Microsoft's cloud technology, Azure, with Sega President and CEO Yukiko Suginoa saying, "By building mutual cooperation in fields such as Sega's game development capabilities and Microsoft's state-of-the-art technology and development environment construction, we will further promote game development that can also be enjoyed by game fans around the world." This isn't the first time Sega has used the Azure tech, with them using it to bring Phantasy Star Online 2 overseas. In April earlier that year, Sega talked more about the project, talking about wanting to chase new technologies, including NFTs. So Sega filed a trademark for Sega NFTs, and Sega of Japan talked extensively about them entering partnerships, while Sega of America and Sega of Europe told them stop. Thankfully, the community made a fuss and plans have been postponed, on hold, cancelled. We don't really know. The value of NFTs and crypto has fallen in the past few months, and the industry has had a very sweep it under the rug mentality. Just don't. Admit you messed up, that you were chasing it due to its rapid growth and money fountain, and that you're sorry. People might take you seriously again. In an interview on their official Japanese website, 3 members from Sega talked about the project more, with new stuff being found out. The project began development in 2019 after they want to strengthen the value of their IP, including their older franchises, especially their older franchises. They had 4 criteria to meet the requirement to be classed as a super game, being 1. A multi-platform release, 2. A global multilingual support, 3. A simultaneous worldwide release, and 4. A AAA scale. This is evidently their main project to develop major AAA titles on the same level as other IPs like Call of Duty, Fortnite, and etc. The project started with around 50 people, however has grown to include a few hundred people, with developers from their console, mobile, and arcade titles. Not only is Azure being used in development, but apparently Epic's Unreal Engine 5. And they are also collaborating with startup AI companies to work on back-end stuff like debugging, in-game camera controls, live commentary, and automated voice synthesis. I read online, AI voice synthesis is speech tech that produces a human-like voice rather than a robotic voice, like text-to-speech. SEGA, are you making a game, or are you trying to make a fully fledged AI? Because I think the lines here are getting quite blurred, and it's getting hard to keep track of. This is also apparently due to release by the end of March 2026, when the financial year ends for most companies. Now, we've gone through the concepts, tech, etc. However, what will these games look like? Should you care about this? Well, in 2022, Bloomberg released a report about SEGA developing 2 major reboots for Crazy Taxi and Jet Set Radio. According to the source, Crazy Taxi is already more than a year into development, with a possible release in 2024 or 2025. While the Jet Set Radio project is in early stages, and both could yet be cancelled. Now, with what SEGA have said when it comes to what a super game even is, I believe this report is true, if it is true, is that the reboots will be multiplayer focused. A multiplayer title for these IPs could work and actually have loads of potential. I just don't see a single player experience happening, and if it did, it'd be minimal at best. I could see it as bot sessions, maybe? Crazy Taxi is the most likely to release, since it is a simpler title that, compared to Jet Set Radio, an online title for Crazy Taxi is easy to imagine. And I wonder if that's why it's the one most worked on right now. But I wouldn't be surprised if Jet Set Radio hasn't been worked on as much, because it has been just over 20 years since Jet Set Radio Future released, the last new title in that series. And I worry that the announcement of an online multiplayer focused game would cause backlash. In fact, I think it just would. Again, the idea isn't bad, it has potential, but the team really needs to be careful on how they announce it. Now, earlier speculation led to thoughts that Creative Assembly's multiplayer title would be classed as a super game title, and that turned out to be Hyenas, a multiplayer co-op PvP PvE FPS by the Alien Isolation devs. From what I know, it fits close to that criteria. However, I'd say that a global launch is a bit doubtful, as I have no clue, no idea if the game is planned for release in Asian markets, which would be needed to meet that goal. SEGA have not publicly stated that Hyenas is a super game project, however it's suspicious, it fits so well with their goals. That's why I have a lot of interest in Hyenas, as this is a glimpse in what a future division of SEGA looks like, but we just have to wait and see. The game is in early alpha, with a beta sessions hopefully soon. I don't know if the game will release in 2023, maybe 2024. I don't know if this will all succeed, flop, or trip at the start and make it to the end. There's loads of questions needing to be asked, and we're still in the dark about a lot of stuff. But like I mentioned in my last video, SEGA is busy. Most busier than they have been in years. And while the future is always scary, I can't help but be intrigued. Thanks for watching. My name is Radical, and Robin Walker is my adopted father. See you all later.